Hello and welcome to this live broadcast of my Fertility Crash Course. In the next 90 minutes, I want to share with you the things that I want everyone to know if they're preparing to get pregnant, especially if you're feeling the crunch of time. We're covering fertility basics, assessment, egg quality, emotional health, and physical health, all as they relate to your fertility. And we're doing this all in one sitting. So this is going to be an action-packed 90 minutes. I'm Dr. Natalie Masson. I am the creator of the meditations here on this Fertility from the Soul channel, and I'm so glad that you're here joining me live. I want to check in with our live audience to see that we are streaming, that everyone can hear me, and you can comment in the chat. So please comment in the chat if you are here with me live so that I can see that you can see and hear me and everything is flowing. Okay. Let me know where you are joining me. Where in the world are you? I would love to know. Okay, so just a little orientation. For those of you who are here live, it's February 13th, 2023. I will be checking in with the chat. Hello, Sarah. Nice to see you. Go ahead and chat with each other. Leave any questions as we're going. I will try to look back and forth to monitor the chat so that I can make sure that you're with me and that this is resonating and I'm answering questions as they're coming up. If they are very specific questions, I will save them to the end. If it's relevant to what I'm speaking about right now, I will try to jump in and include that. Okay. I've got something weird on my face here and it's distracting me. It's like a hair on my lip. All right. I get a little bit nervous, excited when I'm using technologies that I don't use all the time. So I am screen sharing in this presentation through StreamYard into YouTube and I think into my Facebook group. So I hope everybody is reaching what they need. The Facebook group, I'm not going to be monitoring the chat because that's just too much for me to split my attention around. So if you want me to be able to see you live in the chat, pop onto YouTube, Fertility from the Soul YouTube channel, and I'll be able to see our conversations here. Okay. I'm going to take a breath and I am going to screen share this presentation with you. This is going to help me stay on track and you'll be able to see these notes as I go along so you don't have to worry about writing things down. And this will be available on replay on YouTube after the live presentation. So I see hellos here. Let me know, where are you from? Where in the world are you joining me from? Hello, I see another Natalie. I see Sarah, Memichan. Nice to see you all. Okay, so this is a quick run through of everything that I want you to know. I am a psychologist specializing in the mind-body connection, and I look at a very wide range of things that could be impacting your fertility. So the purpose of this training is to help you get your bearings quickly. There's a lot that we can want to learn in the field of fertility and how to get pregnant and stay pregnant, how to have a successful pregnancy. I'd like to help reduce your overwhelm because there are so many things that you could be trying to learn. And I want to help expand your awareness. Maybe you've been focusing on just a few things that could affect your fertility. And I'd really like you to be aware of the landscape of all the different things that might be relevant for your personal pathway. And my aim here is to really empower you with practical knowledge and hope. Okay, I'm not going to, you can relax that I'm not going to do this big pitch of all kinds of promises and success stories and then end with no actual information, but a very high-priced offer at the end. Have you ever been on a training like that? You thought you were going to learn something, but actually it was a sales pitch. I'm not doing that. I will tell you about the programs that I offer. I'll sprinkle that throughout and I'll focus more on that at the end. But my goal here is for you to have a sense of clarity and ideas of where you can go next and some things that you can start applying right away. Okay, Sarah's from Switzerland. Patricia is here from Austria. Memichan from India. I love the international reach of our programs here. It's wonderful to see you all. Welcome, welcome if you're here live. Who is this program for? I'm covering a wide breadth here. If you're new to the fertility journey or you've been on it for a while, I hope you'll find things that are helpful for you. If you're trying naturally or you're pursuing IVF, IUI, I hope that you will find there are pieces that are relevant to both pathways. If you're partnered, if you're solo, whatever age you're at, this isn't going to go very specific into particular demographics, particular fertility situations, but I'm really trying to give a broad landscape cover. So there will be things that might apply to your situation and might not, but take what's useful to you, okay? And this is a sensitive topic. There's a lot of heart that you have tied up in your deep desire for a child and growing your family and all the heartache that you may have been through up to this stage of the game. If anything that I say is, painful or emotionally triggering to you, maybe that has to do with your own vulnerabilities, maybe it's something that I'm saying that I'm not being super sensitive about, let me know. Let me know, because that is how I stay connected with who I'm talking to and make sure that we're taking care of each other. Let me know so that I can incorporate that feedback. You can just email me privately if there's something coming up that you feel like, I missed or didn't quite land right for you. Let me know. Okay. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about the foundation of my perspectives, where I'm coming from, because when it comes to fertility guidance and coaching, the people who are guiding you come from all different directions. And it's always good to know what's this person's source of what they're sharing with you. There are benefits in all different directions. So my perspective is coming from partly my professional experiences as a psychologist. I specialize in the mind-body connection. So I do look at a lot of health issues and how our thoughts and our emotions, the wider landscape of what's happening in our lives, can affect our physical processes in our bodies. I've been in private practice for over 20 years. And I want to clarify the difference between I'm Dr. Natalie Masson. The title is not doctor as in medical doctor. It's Ph.D., more like that's the research title of doctor. So your university professors will have a Ph.D. and clinical psychologists have training in research and talk therapy, different non-medication therapies. For helping people with mental health issues. So it's a little confusing because psychologists do treatment with people, but they're not the same as psychiatrists who are MDs who are trained in medicine, and their primary training is around prescribing medication for mental health issues. So I am a psychologist. I'm also drawing from my personal experiences on the fertility journey myself. I had my daughters at 42 and 46, and I encountered some difficulties on the way to having our second child. And that's when I really became interested in learning for myself about the fertility journey in your 40s. And then after that, I wanted to turn around and help others with the things that I had learned. So I've consulted with a lot of specialists along the way. In my own process, and then in helping others, I'm continually reaching out to learn from different specialists across the field. And I've been running a fertility coaching program for several years now. Over 500 participants have been enrolled during the time I've offered this. And I learn a lot from them, from the conversations that we have, from the specialists that they're seeing. I'm continually gathering more knowledge, and the field is constantly evolving too. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm coming from. And my priorities in this training and in everything that I offer through my online programs, this YouTube channels, I want to help you prepare your body for optimal fertility, whether you're trying naturally or you're using assistance. And I focus a lot on developing mental and emotional agility. So these are the things that I want anyone to learn in life, but they're especially important and helpful on the fertility journey because there are a lot of emotional challenges as we're navigating through this whole world here. And I really like to draw across multiple strategies, staying aware of different perspectives, Eastern, Western, all kinds of whole person orientations, because I think we can have a better outcome when we're drawing the best of all the different disciplines out there. So I do my best to stay aware of a broad range of strategies. Okay. What concerns me when I look at what is happening in fertility land among lots of women out there, couples out there, hoping to create new life, to expand their families. I listen on the forums. I have my own community that I support. And these are some of the things that I see that make me feel like, wow, I really want to help shift the energy of what's happening here. So sometimes there's a simple lack of knowledge. There are things that we really do know about how fertility works. And it's surprising how long people can be going at this a year or 2 years later and still not have the basics figured out. It happens. There's so much to understand. And then when we do realize there's a lot to understand, there can be information overwhelm. More information is available than ever at your fingertips, and it can be hard to sort through it. I see fear and desperation, especially in our population that's moving up to and into their 40s, that sense of, I'm running out of time. Is this going to work? I don't know what to do. And there's also a problem of misinformation. I see lots of lab tests being done and interpreted in ways that are not even correct, and that is guiding people's decisions. I see a lack of strategy and how people are approaching things. There's sort of a throw spaghetti at the wall kind of, I'm going to take these supplements, I'm going to do these treatments, I'm going to try this, and there's no system going on. And all of this can lead to financial strain because many of these things aren't free. And now you're layering in a bunch of things that can cost a lot of money without even having a strategy necessarily. I also see avoidance of learning the things that would be helpful to learn because sometimes we're afraid to know. We're afraid to find out. This is particularly when it comes to getting assessments done. As I'm going through this list, those who are here live, please type in the chat, which of these things do you relate to? Do any of these resonate for you? Do you see yourself in any of these? I see tons of obsessiveness, just getting tied up in knots over 24/7, eat, sleep, think, breathe. What do I need to do for my fertility? And it's exhausting. It's emotionally overwhelming. Relationships become strained. I've seen relationships kind of fall apart under the pressure of all of this strain and obsessiveness, the financial strain. And I see hopelessness where I don't think it's warranted. I see a lot of situations where people are deciding, maybe they're being told that they don't have a chance, especially with their own eggs. I hear that a lot. You don't have any hope with your own eggs because of this, that, the other thing. And when I look at this person's situation, their story, their data, I'm like, this isn't hopeless. It isn't. And that's a problem when people start to think that there's no hope. It changes the things that they think they can do. And another thing that I'm concerned about is I hear lots of women talking about their medical providers actually instilling them with hopelessness and or just not being helpful to them to say, these are things that might help you. Especially again, when we get into the 40s, there's a tendency to kind of close the door and say, well, these are your chances. We really don't encourage you to go forward. And I don't really agree with that approach. And another really touchy area that I feel pretty strongly about is I see a lot of manipulative marketing going on in this industry. And I'm just going to start calling it out, to my audience to notice when it's getting a little bit predatory, where there's so much urgency and desire from people who maybe have some money to spend, and there can be lots of marketing tactics going on to really push at these emotional buttons to get you to buy things, try things, enroll in things. And I just want you to be savvy about those things so that you don't regret the things that you spend money on. Okay, so these are things that concern me. Let me know in the chat. Do you resonate with any of these? I see hopelessness, emotional overwhelm, financial strain. Yes. Okay, let me know which ones resonate for you so that I know that I'm speaking to you about the things that are relevant to you. So there's a lot we have to address here, and we want to have a strategy. When I look at all the things that I've discovered over the last several years, and even things that I haven't really delved into, it can be like a whole college curriculum. And you're in this situation where you want to pass the exams this semester or maybe even this month. So this calls for a crash course. We're going to crash course it through, like the Cliff's Notes version. We're going to go through a whole bunch of content today. And I want you to come away with a sense of clarity, a sense of plans, and hope that you have a constructive direction to go in. So I have divided this talk into 5 volumes that kind of represent how my brain thinks about these different areas. So we have fertility basics, assessment, mindset and stress reduction, egg quality, and physical nourishment. And for each topic, I'm going to talk about why this matters, the problems I see in each area, my top tips, and further steps if you want to go deeper. Let me know which of these 5 is most exciting to you. Okay, and I'm getting comments here. Croy says, I've definitely relating to the marketing manipulation. I've been asked 10K pounds for 3 months course. Exactly. I'm going to talk more about that later, how to evaluate programs and price points and think through, like, is this a reasonable investment? Okay. I've given you an overview of where we're headed. There's a lot here. What I want you to do right now is take a breath with me. Invite tension to release from your body. Because when we calm our mind and body, our mind is going to be more open and receptive. Okay. We're going to step through each of these areas. I'm going to try to make it as digestible as possible. So just open your mind and trust that what's important today is what's going to reach you. You can always come back and watch another time on replay, and you might pick up different things. Okay, so we're going to start with the area that I feel is the most essential to get right from the beginning, their fertility basics. This is like how to identify your fertile window, know when to have intercourse, and then test for pregnancy. And this can really be simple, yet I see a lot of issues here. So it's why this matters. We want to be able to know when is your most fertile time across the cycle. It's not your whole cycle. It's actually only a few days. You want to time intercourse and hopefully enjoy your intimate time. For those who are partnered, it would be nice if this was an enhancement to your relationship, not some monthly stressor to get it right and do it right and get it done and all that. And then we have testing for pregnancy, which is just so that you know as soon as possible where you are and what's happening. So these are the parts of fertility basics that are important. And the problems I see, sometimes people have confusion about timing. Sometimes they're using so many different strategies to identify their fertile window that it becomes obsessive and stressful. So I see a lot of this obsession and stress going on about timing and about testing, pregnancy testing. Oh my gosh. And then oftentimes the result of that is people are spending way more money than they need to on these different facets between testing for ovulation and testing for pregnancy. It's not where you need to spend a lot of money. And I'm going to just step you through really quickly how I recommend doing this. And I have all of this in a free guide that you can download. It's my TTC Essentials Guide. It's linked in the description below. But in a nutshell, you can pay attention to your vaginal fluids. We call that cervical mucus. Why did they pick a name like that? It sounds right. CM, cervical mucus. That is your vaginal wetness, and it changes consistency across your cycle. It gets slippery and thicker and to an egg white consistency shortly before ovulation. So that's what you're watching for. I also recommend, especially when you're getting started, using an LH test, luteinizing hormone. It's called an OPK, ovulation predictor kit test. It's just a urine dipstick test that shows you when your LH peaks. And that's going to tell you when your fertile window is. Between those two things, you really have most of the information you need. And then use inexpensive pregnancy tests. The more expensive ones do not work better. They don't make you more pregnant. They don't tell you you're pregnant sooner. They're just more expensive. It doesn't need to be digital. I actually think it's better to use the cheap pregnancy test because you can get really early results with those. I got them myself at 9 days post-ovulation. That's 5 days before a missed period. So I swear by the cheap pregnancy tests. And then you might also use lubrication if you have any concerns about dryness. It helps the sperm last longer and get to where they need to go. And you can use very simple charting strategies. So I'm going to show you real quick here just what this can look like on a timeline. CD is for cycle day. So here we are, cycle day 8 through 16. Not everybody is on this schedule. I'm just giving you an example. And you'll start taking your LH ovulation predictor test around cycle day 8 or 10, and you'll see the second line getting darker and darker until it peaks maybe around day 13. And if you keep testing, you'll see it get lighter and lighter, and that helps you identify where the peak has happened. And your cervical mucus, you're going to see it start lightly and then thicken up, ideally right toward ovulation. So that's all you really need to predict when ovulation's coming. It's going to be about the day after your peak LH. Okay, so that's really all you need to know. It's simple, right? Really simple. So I'll show you on the next screen. I've circled ovulation day here in this example, cycle day 14. And if you want to get fancy and confirm that you've ovulated, you'll take your temperature every morning using a simple thermometer, and you should see a temperature rise the day after ovulation. So that is how you can confirm ovulation. There are other ways to confirm ovulation by testing for progesterone, but the simple and expensive one is to just take your temperature first thing in the morning. And I put 2 pink stars as examples if you want to have intercourse 2, maybe 3 times during this 5-day window that starts maybe 4 days before your peak and goes 1 day after your peak LH. Okay, question. What if cervical mucus shows up and goes away about a week before peak LH? Is that a problem? So Chinese medicine practitioners tend to focus more on this, and there's some other methods, Creighton method, that focus a lot on cervical mucus. It may indicate something about your hormone balance. I'm not sure, but my approach is to just use these multiple strategies, the cervical mucus, the LH, and the temperature rise to kind of narrow in where your ovulation is. And don't worry too much about your cervical mucus. Use that as feedback maybe as you're working on improving things in your overall balance that might show up in changes in your cervical mucus. But I'd say don't get too worried about it, but use that maybe as an indicator of overall balance. Yeah, my personal experience was that cervical mucus kind of peaked and lessened right before ovulation as well, and I got pregnant several times that way. So that's part of the reason I think it's probably not a deal breaker. Okay, so if you want to go further with learning about these things, I have my free TTC Essentials Guide. I have a YouTube video where I kind of walk through using the different products, and I have a supplies list. All of these things are in the description. Links are in the description below this video. And don't overcomplicate this part, okay? Watch your mental process if you find yourself getting obsessive about this part, because this is not where there's a ton that you need to learn. It's like, figure out that window. If you're not having regular cycles, there are more things to explore there. But if you're having fairly regular cycles, this part can be fairly light and easy. Okay. Okay, Jessica says, what if BBT increased slightly over the next few days? Also, if it increases, then dips, increases slightly higher the next day. Okay, we're getting into details of cycle charting, and there's a lot that you can learn from charting your cycles and seeing the different patterns. But I'll speak to the specific question. If it's a very slow rise, like it takes 2 or 3 days to rise, it still means that you ovulated, but that could be indicating something of interest in your hormone balance, maybe low progesterone, something like that. So I would take that as a flag to explore more, because we ideally like to see it do pretty much the full rise within 1, maybe 2 days. And if it dips the next day, that's very normal. That's a common pattern called the fallback rise. So you have a spike, a drop the next day, and a spike. And that is considered, as far as I understand, not a problem at all. It happens. So, and it has to do with our hormone shifts, but it's a normal pattern, not indicating a problem. Okay, so there's the fertility basics. Check that one off. It does not have to be complicated. Now we're getting to an area that is more complicated, more tedious. So take a breath. And let's talk about why this matters. Assessment matters a lot because so many things could be missed if you're not aware of something that's going on. You don't want to miss things, because that results in lost time and energy. We don't want to have 9 months of negative outcomes that are weighing heavy on your heart and making time go by, when there was something that could have been identified, that could have been addressed. And also, it can keep us from focusing on the wrong things. I was just thinking today about, even before I started on my own journey, I have friends who went through, I think, a few years of fertility treatments where she was going through IVF. And it was after maybe 2 or 3 years, they discovered that he had a sperm defragmentation issue that had not been detected, because sperm defragmentation is often not done in the initial sperm quality tests. And when they addressed that, they were able to get pregnant. They have 3 kids now, but I just always remember, it's like how much expense and heartache they built up over years of focusing on the wrong things. She was doing everything to optimize her end. It wasn't even an issue on her end. So we want to be kind of vigilant about assessment to see what we might be missing that's below the radar screen. So the problems I see when it comes to tackling assessment, sometimes we have avoidance. We're afraid of what we're going to uncover. I hear this a lot. I don't want to go get those tests done. I don't want to learn more about this, because what if I find something out that is a problem? Sometimes we're just too confused to take action because, like I said, this is kind of a complex area and we don't know even where to consult. There are many kinds of providers that may weigh in on what's happening for your fertility. And another issue I see is sometimes people do get the assessments done and they're misinterpreted. They're given diagnoses that aren't even relevant, or that may be misleading. And sometimes as they're getting these assessments, they're encountering providers that are not supportive and helpful, and helping them take the information and turn it into something useful. They're just getting all these tests done and then being told something that is not very actionable and useful to them. So those are some of the problems that I see. Next, I'm going to show you, we're going to go through some top tips as you're approaching this, because it can be such a broad area. To begin with, I like to encourage you to pay attention to any and all symptoms, physically and emotionally, that suggest that something is out of alignment in your system. So you don't have to say, okay, I'm going to do all the 1,000 tests under the sun that could be related to my health, well-being, and fertility. Start with, is something off? Do you have pain? Do you have digestive issues? Are you tired all the time? Are you depressed and anxious? Do you have poor sleep? If any of those things are registering as, not aligned in your system, that is a suggestion that you can start pursuing more assessment around that. What's happening there? Because all these things can indirectly or directly impact your fertility. And keep in mind that it takes a team approach to really do comprehensive assessment. There is no one kind of provider, one kind of doctor who does all of the assessments. It's sort of like an unlimited, like so many branches you could go into. So it takes time to learn about various disciplines and how they might be relevant for a particular issue that you want to follow up on. And I really encourage everyone to learn to be proactive with interacting with your providers, ask tons of questions. You can record your conversations if it'll let you. Be very inquisitive, follow up when you don't understand. Don't be afraid to really invite your providers to engage with you, as you want to see yourself as equally intelligent and capable of thinking, and you're invested in being the expert in your situation. They are the expert in a portion of whatever it is they're trained in within healthcare. They're not an expert in your whole person. You are the expert in your whole person, and you're going to be like your own case manager, consulting with different specialists to bring the whole picture together. It would be nice if there was somebody who could play that role. We call that a general practitioner. But even the general practitioners in medicine are only general practitioners of the Western medical disciplines. They are not overseeing all the other perspectives. So it really ends up coming back on you, or if you have a coach that kind of helps you look at all those things. That's kind of what I try to do with people in my programs, like help pull together all the different pieces. But think of yourself like the final word on case managing your situation, so that you're going to put on your thinking cap and try to figure out how the puzzle fits together. Do not expect your provider to do all that for you just because they're an expert or because you're paying them a lot of money. They're offering expertise from their piece of the pie that they specialize in. And number 4, I really want you to be aware that there are all different dynamics with providers, or different kinds of attitudes of providers. Some may leave you feeling like dirt when you leave their office, and some may leave you feeling like $1,000,000. I've experienced both. Have you experienced different levels of bedside manner and supportiveness from your providers? Let me know in the chat. Chat's a little quiet here, and I would love to hear, have you experienced these different kinds of engagement and connection with your providers? I really want to encourage everyone to always be on the lookout for the providers that are going to be supportive to you. Like, how can I help you? How can we get the most out of your situation? And you just kind of feel that sense that they want this for you. They want the things that you're, they can share your vision and help you see ways to move toward it. And furthermore, there's a difference sometimes in the amount of curiosity that providers might have. Some providers are kind of cookie cutter, and they're like, okay, these are the things that I diagnose. These are the things that I do. I'm going to see where you fit into these things, and I'm going to offer these out. Here's my menu. And others are more inclined to be super curious, to look at you as an individual and say, okay, if this didn't work this time, what could be happening here? And how can we really learn about your unique system? There's some people who are just more motivated in that direction. It takes more time, frankly, to be curious and look across the possibilities. So look for providers that can bring that to the table. There may be many different kinds of providers on your team. If you are working through this process and you haven't been getting pregnant and you want to look down all the avenues, here are just a few examples. This is not a complete list. There are chiropractors and osteopaths. And I learned recently there's a provider called a Biopath that somebody in one of my programs was finding really helpful. Biopath, there's so many different areas of specialty that could be relevant. So keep your mind open and realize that you may be, over time, constructing a team to help you figure out what is happening in your situation and how to get the most out of your health and fertility. Okay, so this next slide, I'm going to show you just a sampling of the kinds of things that might be relevant for your fertility. Not all of these are going to be relevant to your situation, but just to kind of put them on your radar screen so that you know hormone levels are probably something everyone should be curious about getting checked. Structural issues would be things like blocked fallopian tubes, polyps, things that could be interfering with ovulation happening, with implantation happening. Sperm testing, I mentioned that earlier. I really encourage everyone to have that done earlier in the process if you're not getting pregnant within a few months. Thyroid issues can really impact our hormones, other autoimmune conditions, even your dental health, infections in your gums you might not even be aware of, impact your whole system, can even be attributed to greater rates of miscarriage. And that's an area that we overlook. It's really easy to miss that. So anything related to infections in your body can cause inflammation and issues with fertility. Food sensitivity, allergies cause inflammation. That could be an issue. When you learn to chart your cycle, you may see things come up in there that indicate hormone imbalances and other things, illnesses, infections. You can see all these things are kind of tied together. If you're having recurrent miscarriage, there are many things you might want to test for so that you can address whatever might be leading to that. Some couples will find out through genetic testing that they're carrying certain genes that make conception problematic. Any kinds of inflammation in your body, your emotional health is going to impact your body's willingness and readiness to conceive. Obviously, your physical health plays a role, and then lifestyle factors like sleep and so forth are going to have an impact. So these are all the different areas that I like to make sure I look at. These are just some of the bigger ones that are on my radar screen, and unfortunately, there's infinitely more. And that's why I say kind of start with symptoms. Are there areas where your body feels out of alignment so you're not overwhelming yourself with trying to test for everything? So when you decide that you want to go further in this direction, I suggest that you be curious, okay? Try not to approach this as, oh my gosh, what am I going to find? But rather, what can I discover that could help me? Okay, there's an empowerment mindset you can switch to instead of a fear and trepidation mindset. If I can find something that's actually helpful, because then I can learn about and address that thing. So be brave, because it is a little unnerving when you go to turn over the rocks and you're not sure what's going to be there. And take time to explore these pathways. You don't have to do all of this and put off you're trying to conceive, but I say start sooner than later, because it does take time to find the providers, get the test done, get the feedback. It can be a many months process. So I think it's better to kind of start down this pathway if you're not getting pregnant within the first few months, because after doing the assessment for 6 months, you'll have a lot of information instead of, well, we've been trying for 2 years, nothing happened, and now we're going to start assessments. Okay, now it's going to take another whatever many months to get all that lined up. And I really want you to think like strategically. This is where you want to, put on your thinking cap and think of yourself as an intelligent person who can like look at a puzzle and see how things line up, and not just, like I said before, throwing spaghetti at the wall. If you think strategically, you can be more targeted in how you're approaching things. If your issue is you're not getting pregnant, that suggests certain things to look for. If your issue is you're getting pregnant but having miscarriage, that suggests different things to look for. So really think about logically, like what's happening in the process. And for those who are interested in my approach, I have an integrative assessment, extensive form and workshop series inside my Conceive with Ease coaching program, where I guide members through that. We're actually going to be doing more focus on that in the months ahead, because I do see our members getting stuck on that. Even with the resources I have in there, there's a lot of challenge in getting through that. Jessica says, I interview the providers, and if I feel I'm not getting the support, I say, peace out, continue to search for another. Yes, do like Jessica. And hopefully, you're in an area where you have choice of providers, but in this new age, you have a lot more choices because of the internet. A lot more providers are offering services remotely. So, there are people in the US who are consulting with providers in Australia because they're offering the package of what they want support in. Catalin says, celiac disease, does it influence fertility? Yes, celiac disease has to do with food intolerances, and it's pretty systemic. And I like how in the book it starts with the egg. Rebecca Fett, the author, really highlighted how celiac disease can be an issue for fertility. Okay, let's continue now. Okay, so that was the assessment piece. Have courage, take it on, okay? And there's much you can discover that can be helpful. Yes, please keep connecting in the chat so I can see what is standing out to you. Is this helpful? Are you feeling encouraged? I hope so. That is my goal here. Okay, next volume is mindset and stress reduction. Just going to pause for a moment and see where we are for time. We're doing well. Okay, we're going to get through this in 90 minutes. Mindset and stress reduction. Surprise, this is my favorite area. I'm a psychologist, so this is where I love to live. Where is the mind playing into things? What can we learn? How can we help ourselves on the mental, emotional part? Okay, why does this matter? Well, many reasons. Stress impacts your hormones, which reduces your fertility. When your body senses there's too much stress, it throws itself into a balance that is not prioritizing creating more stress. Creating a life is a lot of stress on your body. So your body is going to say, yeah, we don't have a lot of resources to go around, so we're not going to support conceiving right now. So this is a really basic pathway by which you can see that keeping stress down is going to be helpful for your fertility. Another reason is that when we get into a negative space, feeling hopeless and negative about our possibilities, that influences how much energy you have to do the things that would be helpful, to eat well, take care of yourself, go exercise. And it leaves you feeling like, what's the point? Why should I do it? If it's hopeless, why should I bother doing it? So it's really important to develop that mental agility to be able to get back on our feet when we get knocked down in a negative mood. And a lot of that negative mood is based on how we're looking at things and how we're thinking about things, not necessarily how things actually are. So that's where that mental and emotional agility is really important in a situation where you might be confronting obstacles along the way. Another issue is that being under stress, I believe, obscures your intuition. I really think we have a lot of knowledge inside of ourselves. I think you have the most knowledge about you than anybody, because your brain and your body are all connected and you're sensing things that you might not even be able to articulate. But I think you're sensing a lot of useful things. But when we're under stress, all we can focus on is the crisis, and it's harder to access your intuition. There may also be unconscious emotional factors that are blocking your fertility. And illustration of that would be, for example, somebody had a very difficult pregnancy and birth experience, or maybe their mother or their grandmother had a very difficult experience and they grew up hearing about how, somebody almost died in childbirth. And at 4 years old, your brain said, wow, I don't ever want to do that. And so your protective defenses have said, well, let's make sure we don't do that. And they kind of throw the hormones into a state of not going to go down that pathway. So that's just a pretty literal example of how unconsciously your system might be protecting yourself from going there. And there are so many ways these things can kind of sneak in that you might not be aware of, but we can kind of find them when we open our minds and say, what might be happening behind the scenes that I haven't been paying attention to. And so we're looking for an energetic flow through the body of things being able to move and be aligned, because that is what's going to support the whole system in being able to conceive. So the problems that I see in this arena, obsessiveness is so common. I experienced it myself, like through the roof when I was trying to conceive, especially after I had my first miscarriage. I didn't know what obsessiveness was until I was in that mode where my brain was like on fire and I didn't recognize myself, and I had a hard time getting a hold of myself, which actually led me to create the tools for myself, which I share on my YouTube channel. So the problems I see, massive obsessiveness can get kicked up here. The hopelessness, we've talked about that. Tension in your body because you're stressed out, and that stops your body from being able to regulate itself in the best possible way. And then we have a lot of social factors in here where people become disconnected from their friend circles. Everybody else is getting pregnant, I'm not. And your partner is like, who is this obsessive person? And why is she attacking me once a month? And like, there's a lot of things that can lead you to socially not be in the flow anymore. And all this is connected to sometimes, have you experienced this, just not being as joyful and playful in life because you've got this major thing that you're working on 24/7 that's upsetting and stressful? I see that a lot in my communities. Let me know if you can relate to this, which ones of these things have been an issue for you. And now here's another one along different lines. So some people will say, are keen to this importance of mindset mattering for fertility. And so they'll oversimplify it to say, well, therefore, I better stay positive. I better think positive. I better feel happy. I better keep a smile on my face all the time, because that is what's going to help me get pregnant and stay pregnant. And that is a real problem because that is not real life. You don't get and stay positive. You don't have a smile on your face all the time unless, you're just plastering it there. You've had some kind of weird surgery. Normal, healthy living includes happy days and sad days. It includes hopefulness and defeatedness. Like, we're going to breathe through life and hit all the different colors of the rainbow in our emotions. And we need to be able to do that. That is what's healthy. That is a healthy flow of energy in your system. So I see people being misguided to say, if mindset matters, I better be positive all the time. And then when they have a hard day and they have a big cry, they're afraid that they're killing their fertility. They're killing their eggs. They're scaring their spirit baby away because they had a day full of tears and sadness. Okay, so I want to tell you that that's not how it works. It's okay to have the range of emotions, and watch out for this oversimplified positivity that I tend to see in mindset coaching coming up. It's just oversimplified. It's not like that. It's well-intentioned, but it's not the whole story. Yes, positivity helps. You don't want to push positivity or expect it all the time. So here are my top tips. Focus on thriving in your whole person, in your whole, the wider picture of your life outside of, I really want to have a baby. And yes, it is possible to thrive before you conceive. When you're really deep into this stuff and you've kind of lost yourself, it's hard to imagine that there's any way to thrive except to, get pregnant and have a baby, but you can, because I've found my path there. I've guided many others to find their path there. So I've seen it. Before you get pregnant, you can get to a place of feeling like you are whole and well. Developing inner ease is a learning process. Okay. So you're not going to read one book or sit on one talk like this or do one class or one meditation that's going to give you the key to inner ease. It is a learning process. And I encourage you to think of it as something that you invest in over time. That is like an investment. What do we mean by investment? You put the money in and it grows. Okay. You invest in your emotional resilience, and that is going to feed you back double, triple, quadruple in the years to come throughout your fertility journey, through pregnancy, through childbirth, through parenthood. If you end up leaving the fertility journey and not having children, all of these things, your emotional resilience is going to pay you back in so many ways. So think of it as a learning process. And it's not just mental. So when people think mindset, they think my thoughts, just what's on my mind. That is not how I work with our emotional world. It's mind, body, and breath. The breath connects a lot of this together. So if you're just working on telling yourself to be positive and talking yourself through things, there's a good chance that you're really top heavy and your brain is overactive and tired, and it's leaving your body behind. Your body might still be like this, all tensed up, and your brain is trying to do all this, and you're just actually creating more tension. Whew. So I always guide people through body and breath while we're working on awareness of thoughts and emotions, because the whole system needs to move together if it's going to move effectively. Otherwise, you move one part and just keep snapping back, and then you're just tired trying to move things one piece without the other. So learn to nurture your emotions. You're not going to fix negative emotions by pushing them away or flipping them into positive ones. We can learn how to be with the inevitable stressors and disappointments and frustrations of life that allows us to be in alignment. And that is a process too. And that's a lot of what I teach, is how to nurture emotions in a really effective way. And I also recommend finding people who understand the nuances of your situation, particularly fertility, particularly, if you're over 40, fertility over 40, because people will say all kinds of things when they mean to be helpful that just don't feel helpful because they don't understand this context. It's kind of unique, and it's hard for people outside of it to really understand how things are affecting you. But it's really wonderful when you can find coaches and guides and communities where other people really, really understand. So if you want to go further, this is where I have the most in-depth and unique trainings in my programs. You can find my free meditations on YouTube. I have guided imagery and affirmations. And like I was mentioning before, the affirmations sets, my weekly affirmations that are aligned to the different weeks of your cycle. Those were the ones that I wrote for myself when I was in the depths of obsession and thinking, how am I going to get a hold of myself? I wrote these affirmations, recorded them, listened, and it was like magic how quickly I went back to feeling normal again. So that's what actually motivated me to start my channel and start sharing. Is like, I bet others are having this problem. It would really benefit. So I recorded them and shared them, and it's grown into this whole livelihood now. So I have guided imagery and affirmations on my YouTube channel. Inside my 7-day fertility chill out retreat, I start teaching the mindfulness, mind-body strategies that are really core to how I teach emotional wellness. And that program, if you're here with me live, is actually just open today. We've got over 20 people signed up already. That program is going to be offered next week. Enrollment's open right now. If it's not open while you're watching this, you're watching on replay, just get on the wait list. I run that 3 times a year. Very powerful program for shifting your energy. I also have an extensive Conceive with Ease coaching program where I have a much longer series. We continue the mind-body trainings, very powerful. And like I said, there's so much that you'll get from that that's beyond just fertility, but it will help a tremendous amount on the fertility journey. And outside of my programs, anything related to mindfulness practices, healing, other healing practices, therapies, yoga that are designed to help you bring balance to your system. I recommend that you find those programs, find the classes you can go to in person. Yay, we're back to doing things in person again. Find those communities where people are focusing on bringing balance and supporting each other in doing the same. Okay, you can find all of these resources at my all of my programs at fertilityfromthesoul.com/resources. Okay, we're going to pause for a water break and a breathing break. Jessica says, I love your meditations. Thank you for this. You're welcome. I'm so touched that so many people have been listening to my meditations all around the world. Okay, so we're going to take a breath. Take a breath and check in. I have been talking at you, giving you lots of ideas and information. We want to pause, breathe, and check in. So check in, notice if tensions in your body, let them soften. Invite a softening to your belly. This is the biggest culprit in blocking people's natural breathing, is tension in the belly. We've been told to suck it in, hold it tight, all these things, work on your core. For optimal breathing, we're going to actually relax the lower belly especially. And this is connected to your reproductive area too. You don't want tension through your pelvic area, through your lower abdomen. So just invite a softening, a gentle softening there. Let the breath flow into your body and out. And know that you are fine just as you are. You are fine just as you are. Breathe that notion into your system. And we're going to continue forward now. Our next area we're delving into is physical nourishment. This is all the things that we do to nourish our physical body. That's going to help your cellular health, which is super important for egg quality. It's going to help your overall energy, your mood. Like we said before, mood is really important for your whole system. And when you're not physically nourished, when you're not physically rested, your mood really suffers. Your hormone balance is going to be a byproduct of how you're feeding yourself on many levels. So the problems I see in the arena of physical nourishment, when it comes to exercise, I'm really concerned at how much it's become a trend I've seen for fertility specialists to recommend not exercising or minimal exercising or warning against exercise. Because I do think, there are research studies that show that when younger women exercise more, it takes them longer to get pregnant. And when they exercise less, they get pregnant more quickly. And so this has, I think, kind of led to a let's really dial it down, which may be fine for a short time. But if you're dialing it way down and you're on this path for months or years and you're not getting the benefits of exercise, I really think that can be an issue, and your body really needs circulation. It's better for your hormones, your mood, and everything. So I think there's some confusion, honestly, about is it okay to move and exercise, and people are a little afraid to move their bodies. Do want to be aware of over-exercising. Somebody on my last presentation of this in the Q&A afterwards said people told her she needs to do less of her cycling. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, sometimes people are too cautious about moving too much, but what are you doing? And she went on to explain that she was doing her stationary bike, spinning at home for 30 to 45 minutes with her heart rate at 160 to 170. That is a prolonged sprint. If your heart rate is that high and you're doing that several times a week, you're probably burning yourself out. So yes, you can over-exercise. And for that individual, I'd say, whoa. And the reason she was doing that was because she was trying to burn calories to lose weight. So she was basically, pushing for the monitor on the cycling thing to tell her when she'd burn enough calories. So she's just trying to burn calories. That is not listening to your body. That is looking at some arbitrary measure that you've decided you need to go for. So come back to listening to your body and saying, is this the activity that's going to nourish my system, or is there some other goal that's come in that's not relevant? Sarah asks, is yoga considered as an exercise? So I like to actually not even use the term exercise. I use that because that's what people relate to, but I like to think of it as what you're actually doing for your body. So you want your body to move and be agile and limber and not get stuck. You want blood to flow. Circulation is so important for so many health issues. So yoga, yes, is absolutely wonderful activity. There's so many types of yoga. I'm not going to recommend Bikram hot yoga where you're sweating for an hour and a half in a extra heated room. Don't think that's likely good for fertility. But there are many types of yoga. So you want to say, what is it that my body is wanting and needing, and how does this activity help that? When it comes to nutrition, my concern is when I see dietary extremes where people are doing something really extreme and they become very rigid about it. Particularly, I see people doing these things arbitrarily. This is the spaghetti against the wall thing again. Somebody did this before they got pregnant, so I'm going to do that too. What is that going to do for your body? And I really want to see more strategic approach to this. I'm also concerned about undernourishment because of the rigidness. For the priority of creating life, we need to have lots of resource in our body. We need to be really well nourished, really sourced with a lot of energy. And then sometimes people discover they have gut issues where they're not digesting. So they're eating all the right things, but it's moving through them. Issues I see around supplements are people doing things. There's the spaghetti again. They're just not being strategic, and they're doing things because they heard about it, they read about it, somebody else did it, and they're desperate. And then they're spending a lot of money on things they don't know if it's right for their body. And then they're caught having these supplements they're taking, they spend a lot of money on, they helped some people. Does it help them? They're not sure, but then they're afraid to stop because what if that was the thing? So a lot of stress can come from the whole supplements issue when we don't understand what we're doing and why. And then for sleep, gosh, our whole society is generally chronically underrested. And that, again, is not helping your body be nourished and well-resourced to create new life. So this is one of the most important and essentially free things that we really should be aware of and focusing on to optimize our overall health, longevity, and our fertility. So my top tips in this area, just to be really generic and try to hit the marks for most people in general. For exercise, keep moving, focus on regular circulation. What's going to help energy flow in your body? Yoga is a nice discipline. There are so many other disciplines as well. And if you like to exercise, like that's your jam, it makes you feel so good, you hate missing your runs and your workouts, and it's like maybe it's the thing that you use to cope in your life, like it's hard to not exercise, you may be running the risk of over exercising. And if you've been doing that and you haven't gotten pregnant after many months, I think it's good to do an experiment of just dial it down for a couple of cycles and see how that impacts things for you. When it comes to sleep a lot, track your sleep if that helps you. I use an Oura ring, which gives me sleep data, and I find that really helpful to keep me honest because I like to work after the kids went to bed and stay up late, and it will tell me, I can look at my history, how have I been sleeping. So I find the feedback really helps. There's all kinds of sleep trackers, or you can just, mark it on your calendar. How much did I sleep tonight? Nutrition in general, prioritize keeping your blood sugar stable. So not skipping meals. Watch your macronutrients, especially protein, as much good protein and healthy fats as you can fit into your diet. You want to have the complex carbohydrates as well. Beware of the simple carbohydrates, not good for blood sugar stability. And fresh foods, the closer you can get the food to its original state, the less processed it is, probably the better it is overall. And cover the colors of the rainbow in your produce. That's going to help you with your micronutrients. And eat enough. Don't be afraid to feed yourself. Okay. I'm less worried about carrying a little extra weight than I am about being undernourished when it comes to fertility. and just be aware of the possibility of gluten and dairy intolerance. Lots of people seem to have this and we're not aware of it, and that can interfere with digestion and cause inflammation issues. So sometimes people will do like an elimination diet where they take certain things out for an extended period and see if they feel different. I've done both of these eliminations, and I don't think I've actually done gluten, but I did dairy a few times because I needed to. When I was breastfeeding, my babies did not respond well to me having dairy. So I cleared dairy out for 6 months, and I didn't feel any better. I just felt hungrier because I had to switch how I ate. But you can do the test to see if you have food sensitivities by clearing things out and see how your body works. Don't clear things out just because and just not be able to eat it because somebody else had to clear it out. Find out what really matters for you. And that brings me to watch out for perfectionism when you start trying to do these different things to help your health. You can't probably do all the healthiest things all the time just because of life and how many healthy things you could be doing. So set realistic expectations, layer in the learning and setting new habits, and don't say, oh, I've got to do all of these things right all the time, because then you're going to create stress for yourself. Megan asked, how do we find out if we are intolerant? I've heard there isn't a test. There are food sensitivity tests. Somebody just told me about one that looked really interesting, and I bookmarked it. Let me see if I can find it quickly in my bookmarks. Checking here. It was called CME or C something. There was 3 letters. It's a test for, I'll have to find it and then add it to the description below this later. I know I bookmarked it. Wait, I know where it is. MRT, there it is. MRT test for food sensitivity. Mediator release test. I haven't looked into this, but it looked interesting at first glance. So that may be something to help. And there are other allergy tests as far as gluten, dairy intolerance. I'm not sure. I'm not a nutritionist. So these are the things that I've heard from nutritionists that I'm passing on to you and things I've read in the research. So I'm not sure about specific tests, but I think there are a lot of indicators, tests that will give you an indication, and also the eliminate stuff and see how you feel is going to be a strong indicator too. Okay. And Croy says the book Fast Like a Girl teaches to fast and eat according to your hormones, and it helps to rebalance your hormones. So I've heard a lot of caution from fertility nutritionists about fasting. So I would say really educate yourself about what it's doing, whether that's right for your body, what your goals are exactly. I don't really feel good about people arbitrarily doing fasting diets, because I think there are a lot of potential drawbacks to low blood sugar that could come from fasting and lack of nourishment that could come from fasting. So I really encourage being educate yourself, be strategic, and talk to a few different experts to get their take. There are so many approaches to nutrition. Again, this is put on your thinking cap and think strategically what is going to be the best for your situation. So going further in this area, kind of jumping ahead, I was kind of going further already, really explore your individual needs. Hey, don't assume that what worked for somebody else is going to work for you. Address what's behind lifestyle factor issues. If you're having trouble letting go of caffeine or alcohol or getting to bed early enough or getting yourself to exercise, don't just feel bad about yourself for not being disciplined enough. The New Year's resolution blues in February when you didn't do any of those things. Don't feel bad about yourself. Recognize that there's some reason why this is hard for you to do, and there may be something behind that. If you crave sugar, maybe it's because you have some hormone imbalances or emotional things or stress that you're not working on, that you haven't addressed, and that's why you're using sugar to soothe that. So it's not just don't have the sugar, it's find out how to take care of yourself so that you can make those lifestyle changes in a way that feels nourishing to you. And maybe you want to have the support of a trainer, a nutritionist, group programs, therapist, somebody to help you make these shifts. And if you're interested in all of the research that I've looked at to draw my conclusions about the lifestyle changes, that's inside my Conceive with Eve's coaching program in the 90-day egg nurturing course that's inside there, where I picked through exercise and nutrition and went to what matters for egg health. What do we know from the research? What do we not know? What are we just guessing? Okay, there's a big range. It's not black and white about exactly what everybody should be doing. It's a process to figure that out. Okay. Whew, here we are. We're at egg quality. This is also, along with the mindset stuff, this is one of my favorite topics because it's the one that really brought me to being more curious about fertility in your 40s, because this was near and dear to my heart. I was having miscarriages because of poor egg quality. I had 2 pregnancies when I was 45, and both were lost around 9 weeks or so because of trisomies, abnormal chromosomal alignment. And naturally, one would assume that was due to my age because that is so common as we get older, age quality declines. So that was when I took it upon myself to say, what can I do? Because I can get pregnant, but I'm not making good eggs. So that was when I got really interested in this. So why this matters, it may be preventing you from getting pregnant. If the eggs aren't good quality, you might have trouble getting pregnant. You could have losses, genetic or now going too fast for myself, genetic abnormalities. And it's probably the greatest issue as we age. There are more things going on, but I think for anybody in their 40s, this is one to have on your radar screen. The problems I see in this area, oh, so many. There's a range of problems. The first one is there's a perception that has been debunked by research that you can't improve your egg quality once they're of a certain age. It's just a roll of the dice. Maybe you get lucky, but you're probably not going to. And I see assumptions being made based on just age alone. Well, you're 44, so your eggs are no good. Or a few tests. Oh, your AMH was this level and your FSH was this level. Therefore, you don't have enough eggs and your eggs are poor quality. It's all over. And those assumptions are frankly not true. I'm proof because I had terrible numbers. Age, AMH, and FSH were all by those statistics. Yet I had a successful natural pregnancy the month I was turning 46. Okay, so that's why I get on my soapbox and get all passionate about this, because I see women who are 40 who are being told, even 36, being told, well, we got this lab test, can't use your eggs, you got to go on to donor egg. Like, nothing against donor eggs, but that's not usually your first choice. And people are being told they don't have options when I really disagree. I really disagree. And I'm not the only one with this story. There are lots of women with similar experiences as mine, with the statistic, the data showing not a great chance, where many providers would say, forget it, and actually things worked out. So we have negative assumptions about whether we can improve egg quality, and also the notion of ovarian reserve. If your lab tests show you don't have lots of eggs, that's also taken as game over, when you actually only need 1 egg per human that you're going to create. So you might only have hundreds of eggs, but you only need 1 instead of thousands, and we actually don't really know how many eggs. There's no egg counter. Okay, don't really know. They're using lab tests that might indicate something about your ovarian reserve. It's all very fuzzy, yet that test alone will be used to say, and it's not even an ovarian reserve test. It's FSH and AMH and follicle count kind of brought together to indicate something about your reserve. So there's that negativity that says it's not possible, when that's not really what the research says. And there's a very narrow focus for those who do say, okay, we can work on egg quality. Oftentimes the focus is too narrow. They're focusing on maybe supplements and nutrition and removing toxins from your environment. That's what you'll find in the book. It Starts with the Egg, which is an excellent book as a starter, but it only covers a few things that you can do. And so people read that and they go, well, I read the book and these are the things I can do. And I'm here to say there's way more than that. I love that that book got us started with citing the research for why we can do this and a few key areas, but there's much more. So to me, that's exciting that there's much more. However, it can create another problem, which is perfectionism, when we start to see all the possibilities and take it upon ourselves to do everything at once immediately, which is not possible. And that creates so much stress, so much perfectionism that then undermines our egg quality and fertility because we're so stressed. Okay, so that's tricky, right? This is a problem that I see. Let me know if you are here with me live. Let me know. Have you fallen into this category where you're trying to do everything and it's creating stress? Somebody's asking about the name of the book. It starts with the egg. It starts with the egg. I think that's a great book to read. And I'm going to point out that Rebecca Fett, the author, wrote the first edition in 2015. That was the year I was trying to conceive. And I actually didn't read the book on purpose because I had already made my plan for what I wanted to do. And I knew that it was important. I felt my intuition was that it was important for me to not stress out and to focus on the things that I was going to do. I was going to eat well, sleep well, bring joy back into my life, exercise, and take a break from trying to conceive for a few months while I rebuilt myself after 2 consecutive miscarriages. I didn't want to read a book. Even though everybody was excited about it, I didn't want to read the book. So I didn't read the book. I got pregnant 4 months later. I read the book 2 years later when I started coaching other people. I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. It explains why what I did probably helped. Even though I didn't do the things that she recommended in the book, I was doing other things related to the processes that she talked about. So anyway, coming back to Rebecca's book, I think it's a really good starter. However, so many people get really stressed out because they're trying to do everything and they're getting freaked out, especially about all the environmental toxins. I better not eat anything that's touched plastic. I better not touch any paper receipts. And Rebecca Fett herself said in an interview that she was doing when she was pitching her second edition of the book, that she made adjustments because she was concerned by how obsessive she saw people getting after they read her book. Now, I really respected that she identified that and addressed it. It doesn't change the fact that I'm sure with a second edition, people are also getting obsessive about that because that's how we can get when we're motivated and we want things to happen, right? So just be aware of that. There are gems in that book, and don't get obsessive, okay? All right. So my top tips, diminished ovarian reserve is this diagnosis that gets handed down based on a few measures. And I don't think that it's actually very useful. It's definitely not a deal breaker the way it's often described. And same for AMH. That's a hormone test that they're using to indicate fertile potential, but really it indicates how likely you are to respond to egg retrieval if you're doing IVF or trying to store your eggs. It really isn't a predictor of your ability to get pregnant naturally or your ability to have good eggs. So not a deal breaker, not necessarily even that useful information. When you're in your 40s, you're very likely to have low marks on diminished ovarian reserve and AMH. And I don't think it means anything more than you are the age you are. And your age itself is not a deal breaker. And that is used oftentimes as an indicator of your fertile potential to say, because of this age, you don't have potential. Okay, so don't think of age as a deal breaker. It's just, it may suggest the things you want to focus on. I've seen some comments come up in here. Somebody has shared that her AMH levels improved from 1.45 to 7.49 in 2 years with lifestyle changes, acupuncture, and Chinese herbal remedies. So there is a good example of how like even AMH can change, even though it's been suggested that it only goes down, right? There's proof right there that it doesn't only go down. And in my case, I checked my AMH right before I got my healthy pregnancy, and it was still freaking low. Okay, it went from 0.07 to 0.099. That is less than 0.1, and low is considered 1. So I was really low, and I got pregnant with a healthy egg. So it can change, and it doesn't need to change. Okay, we have a couple cases right here with us live. The other tip I have for you is everything can have an impact when you understand that the mechanism for improving egg quality is sourcing your mitochondria, your cellular power in your body, so that the eggs will mature better. Your body has more power to mature those eggs. That's the piece that starts to dim as we age. Okay, so we're trying to turn that light, that heat lamp, brighter. You hear all about this in my Improving Egg Quality workshop. I break it all down. And everything that we do to bring good natural energy into our bodies can contribute to supporting those mitochondria. So this is great news, because if you can get more rest, if you can feed yourself better, if you can get on a really good regular exercise routine, these things can all help. But my next tip is don't get perfectionistic, because then you're going to wear yourself out and stress yourself out. But focus on a global sense of boosting your energy. How can I naturally boost my energy through setting my life up in a way that is manageable, energizing, uplifting? And use your intuition about what that looks like. I don't really like to share exactly what I did on my egg nurturing journey, even though I know it can be really inspiring and interesting. But I'm afraid that people are going to copy what I did when that's what worked for me. I don't believe that's what's going to work for you. The principles, I believe, can work for you. And that's what I have listed on this slide here, a very, very basic version, like boost your energy from many directions and find a way to have a well-balanced, well-sustained life. What that's going to look like for you is going to be different than for me, because we are different human beings. Our bodies are different. We have some things in common, but what I need to do for exercise is probably not exactly what you need. What I need for sleep might not be what you need for sleep. So use your intuition. That's why so much of my teachings focus around decreasing the stress so you can access your intuition, and raising your awareness so that you're aware of the possibilities on this whole landscape of options. If you want to go further, I have a free guide, 20 strategies for improving egg quality. The links are in the description below. You can also find all my programs, fertilityfromthesoul.com/resources. And I have an extensive workshop that you can enroll in anytime. It was recorded live. You can watch the recordings. And after I did that 90-minute training, I continued to add in more bonus training. So there's actually probably about 8 trainings in there, all around egg quality and novel approaches like red light therapy that I'm continuing to learn about. There's so much in there. And for those who want to have a more interactive experience where I cover all different aspects, I have my Conceive with Ease program. And in there is my 90-day egg nurturing course, which has lots of details on the system that I used for myself to keep myself on track toward egg nurturing, and all the research that I've delved into in the different lifestyle areas, and more. Sarah says my AMH improved with ovarian PRP, but it's not natural lifestyle change. It's done with sedation. So yeah, there are lots of novel approaches. PRP sounds very interesting to me. It's lots of things to keep learning about. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. So lots that you can do in the direction of egg quality. That covers all of our 5 volumes of areas. When I think about, from a mind-body perspective, the landscape of what you want to be aware of, this really isn't even covering everything. This is just kind of the big blocks, categories of how I think of things, to help expand your awareness and give you that sense of empowerment, that there are a lot of directions that you can go and things that are important to consider in your overall plan. So all of these areas can be relevant. They all really kind of interact with each other, particularly mindset and the physical nourishment connect to egg quality, and your assessment may also give you indicators of what's impacting your egg quality and your fertility. And I want you to think of this not necessarily as a linear process, but you're going to learn bits and pieces and layer it on depending on what's really relevant for you, depending on what you're ready to take in at this time. So think of it as taking time to learn and grow and committing to a process of growth. So often we get so focused on every 2 weeks there's ovulation, every 2 weeks after that there's pregnancy test, and we get on this very short cycle of learning and trying what's going to make a difference right now. And I really believe that the things that are more likely to make a difference are a little bit longer term than every 2 weeks. So if you can have the every 2 to 4 weeks cycle, what you're doing for your fertility going on, and also commit to this broader whole person view of taking time to learn and grow and empower yourself. These are things that are going to serve you beyond fertility anyway. All of this connects to your health, wellness, and longevity. So some more suggestions that I have here. I have a question coming. Will this live be posted immediately? I signed on late, but would love to hear the mindset portion. So YouTube will have this posted immediately if you have connection to the link, like from my email. It won't post it on my YouTube channel until it's been processed. So if you got the email, you can click on that link and you'll be able to see it. You just won't be able to see the chat stream until they publish it, probably 8 to 24 hours from now. Okay, my suggestions beyond my 5 volumes. These are a few things that I really want everyone to have on their radar screen as well. Let me know in the chat what has been helpful to you in this presentation. We're getting ready to kind of pull everything together. I've got a few more things that I want to share with you as far as my really important tips to keep in mind as you're navigating this process, this industry. And I'll tell you more about the programs that I have coming down the pipeline that can help you. So there is a tendency to think that a certain pathway, like these pathways are stacked vertically in terms of what you can learn. Okay, there's the self-learning, stuff you find on the internet, and then there's going to a fertility clinic and seeing the doctor. And that when you do that, you're doing the most effective thing, the most powerful thing, the most expensive thing. And if that doesn't work out, then you've probably exhausted all your options. And I really want to shift that perspective, because think of the pie analogy, pie metaphor. The fertility clinics and IVF are a set of tools and perspectives. It's part of the pie. And there are actually many approaches to the fertility puzzle. So if somebody tells you, this is the answer according to this perspective, they don't often say according to this perspective. They just say this is the answer. But I want you to add it on your head according to this perspective, so you don't cut yourself off from other ways of learning and knowing about your situation. I want you to be wary of pessimistic or simplistic medical advice. I absolutely feel there's some ageism in this arena, because I see so many people being shut down because of their age alone, not because of an investigation into their situation. And that really concerns me. So if you're feeling a pessimistic vibe from providers, I really encourage you to ask around more different types of providers to see if really there is agreement on that. If everybody is saying, okay, this isn't going to work, then at some point you work toward acceptance and moving forward. But if you see one person or two that say, no, we don't think this is hopeful at all, don't just sit in your car and cry after that appointment. Okay, sit in your car and cry, and then wipe your tears away, get up and say, who else can I talk to? Okay. And simplistic medical advice is also a concern to me, when it's like, well, we did this test and we know that you're not fertile. That's probably just oversimplified. And sometimes people are just too quick to jump to conclusions, or maybe they don't have much time today, or that's just how they think. It's an oversimplified, but a lot of this stuff is not black and white. So I want you to educate yourself, think for yourself, and be proactive about understanding your personal, really individualized health and fertility situation. And when you're evaluating opportunities to get support, to invest in your process, please watch out for manipulative marketing tactics that play on your emotions. There is and always has been, um, a market for exploiting people's emotions and their vulnerabilities to make money and to grow one's own business. And I see a lot of this. I hear about it mostly. I mean, I see some of it. I'm on mailing lists. I see some of the marketing tactics about, if you don't do this, you're not going to have your baby. I'm like, oh, really? And people who are, you know, searching for programs, they'll tell me the things that they've heard. Sometimes I've heard of people being on sales calls with somebody that they're considering for coaching, where they've been told this program is going to cost you $5,000 or something. And if you don't want to spend this money, you don't want your baby enough. I can literally cry when I hear that a hopeful mother to be is being subject to that kind of unethical manipulation, because it's not fair to do that to you. To say that you have money mindset issues because you're not willing to spend the money. It's important for you to be a savvy consumer and consider where you're investing your money and whether that's a reasonable investment for you. And if somebody who is asking for your money is telling you that you have money mindset issues, that should be a tip off right away. Okay, that's not their role to tell you how to spend your money and how to, they might offer some ideas how to think about your money in a useful way, but that's really manipulative. And I just want you to be aware that this industry has kind of mushroomed into a big business for a lot of people, and you may be subject to those kinds of things. And I just really, it makes me feel very uncomfortable for you that you may sometimes be subject to that. Also, I want to point out that higher price does not equal higher value. Anybody can name whatever price for their services and products that they want. And so it can be confusing. If somebody's program is 200 or 500 and somebody else is 2,000 or 5,000, does that mean one is 10 times more valuable than the other? No, it just means that there are different prices and you want to look at it. So I have these acronyms to kind of help you sort through how to think about pricing. DIY is do it yourself. So this would be an online course or a book, and you're going to guide yourself. And those should be less expensive because there's less resources being dedicated toward you. So look to see, is this program you guide yourself through? You're paying basically for some knowledge that you're going to apply on your own. And then in between that, I have what I'm calling DWI, done with you. And these are programs where you're going to get more personalized guidance, but it's still really kind of up to you to take the information and carry it forward and follow your own, creating and following your own program, but you're going to get consultation that is somewhat individualized to you. And that's going to, we would expect that to be more expensive than the DIY. And the DFY is done for you. This is a high touch end where everything is going to be kind of like laid out and spoon fed. Maybe they have all the different practitioners within their clinic, and they're going to set you up with the nutritionist and the functional medicine doctor and the traditional medicine doctor and the lab tests and all those things. And they're going to step you through the whole process. So, I had someone who was in my DWI type program where I lay it all out. It's fairly inexpensive in the spectrum. And then she went to a DFY program where she got all of the red carpet treatment. Then she came back and talked to me later about it. And everything that she described they were doing was the same stuff that I was encouraging everybody to do on their own. And she was getting it all laid out for her, which is really nice and helpful and convenient. And it cost, after several months, she said she'd spent over $20,000 and continued to spend $250 a month for ongoing check-ins. So you can see how the hands-on can get very, very expensive. And it's really up for you to decide what's in your budget and what is going to be fitting for you. But just realize that sometimes I've seen very DIY programs promoted for thousands of dollars. And I really have to wonder, um, you know, sadly, I've heard a lot of people in my program say they felt burned and taken advantage of by investments they made. They were hoping because it was pricey that they were really, investing and going to get a lot out of it. And then they discovered that they were disappointed. So look for ways to, find out from people who have been in the programs, what it's been like for them, get as much detail as you can about how much personalized support you're going to get, what exactly is happening. Do not assume that because somebody has good marketing and lots of success stories and things like that, that they're going to be able to deliver based on, the pricing that they're asking for. Okay. So we're coming close to the conclusion, and I want to really send you the message that you are whole. Okay. No matter the bumps in the road that you have been encountering along this path, you have a vision, you have a dream that you're pursuing, and you're on a growth journey. Okay, you're not defective because things haven't come together in a certain way. You are whole and you are learning along the way. There is so much potential that you have here to learn and grow. And everything that you learn on the fertility journey is going to help you in your health, wellness, and longevity moving forward. So I want you to keep that in mind. And I want to share some of the inspiring stories from inside my community. These are people who have been in my community, fertility coaching community at some point in time. And I pulled together just a sampling so you could see the range of pathways that others have gone that might feel inspiring to you. So Stacy was 41, 42. I think she was 41 when she came to the program. She had already been through multiple losses. She had one child. She was trying naturally for number 2, and she got pregnant in our program naturally after she had followed all the guidance to take time to nurture her eggs. And then she had a miscarriage, and that was really a big setback for her. So she'd had miscarriages before, and then she thought she was doing all the things right, and then she got pregnant, had another miscarriage. And, sometimes we line everything up, we do everything that we know, and we have a setback. And she wasn't getting pregnant right away after that. I could see the stress growing, but she stuck with it, kept looking for explanations, didn't find anything, and then did get pregnant. I think she was turning 42 when she got pregnant, and she has since had her baby. And the message I take from hers is sometimes it takes persistence and patience and trusting in your process. Now, Siobhan has a different kind of story. She had not been trying all that long, but she started later. She was 42 or 43 when she started trying. Her husband took a long time to come around to saying, okay. And after several months, she joined our program really early in her process. And after several months, she was like, I've got to go do IVF. I don't have time. I don't have time to wait around. And she actually went through several clinics because she wasn't getting the connection and the care that she thought was right for her. So she went through 5 rounds in a row, moving from clinic to clinic. I don't sure exactly how many clinics, but it was the 5th round when she got pregnant, and she just had her baby last week. Yeah, last week. So that's following her intuition about finding the providers and finding the clinic that was going to really work with her, and that she did want to do IVF, and that was the path for her. Another story was a member who was, I believe she was about 40, trying for number 2 for 2 years, and trying naturally wasn't happening. And through the course of developing insight and doing the inner work, she realized that she was wanting so much this pregnancy and this baby to come because there were things that she thought it would fix in her life related to her job and relationship. And when she had that spark of intuition, she addressed the things in her job, she addressed things in her relationship. And the next couple, it was 1 or 2 months after that, she wasn't really focused on trying. She didn't even bother testing on time. And that was when she got pregnant naturally, right before they were actually going to start IVF. Another individual, Cindy, had been through my Improving Egg Quality workshop when I first offered it 2 years ago. She jumped on making all the lifestyle changes and even started doing the red light therapy, which I had just barely started talking about. She was 43 years old and got pregnant pretty soon after that. Another story that I just love telling because it's so I think it's so phenomenal about you just don't know what the possibilities are, and nobody should tell you that it's not possible for you. So this individual was 44 and 3/4 when she started having these conversations with me in our program, or maybe even before she came into it. She had been trying for 5 years, no children. She'd been trying for 5 years and had done a lot of IVF. And after hearing her whole story, she did an extended assessment session with me. I said, well, gosh, it doesn't seem like this IVF path is really working for you. Her retrievals weren't even retrieving eggs anymore. And the doctors told her, you really need to keep trying the IVF because that's your only chance. And I said, I don't know. It keeps not working. Maybe your body needs some time to rest and recuperate. But I always respect everyone, follow their intuition, see what they want to do. So she went away for a while and she came back and said, well, I decided to do one more IVF and it really didn't go well. She actually had a reaction that's called an ovarian torsion, where it was life-threatening, and she lost an ovary from that process. So now she's turning 45, and they've told her, you have so little chance of getting pregnant on your own. You really need to do another procedure because you're getting older. And she said, I can't do this anymore. I'm afraid for my life. I'm not going to do this anymore. She took some time to really recover and nourish herself. And that year that she turned 45, just a couple months into turning 45, she got pregnant naturally. Blew my mind. I was shocked. Okay, one ovary, like, wow. So it's just a reminder to all of us, and even to me, like, you don't know the possibilities. Another member is, all of these stories I'm telling you are pregnancies that have gone to term or are well into second or third trimester. This one is a relatively new one, though, in first trimester still. But I think this is so useful to hear for the benefits of assessment. She was doing all of the lifestyle things, very dedicated in my program, dialing down stress, everything. And her cycle, she was temperature charting, and I could see things did not really balance out. The length of her cycle looked like low progesterone to me. She ended up finding an acupuncturist to go to who started her on acupuncture and herbs. And within one cycle, she got pregnant naturally at 44. So, wow, that was the assessment lens saying something is not aligning right here. What is the next thing to do when this isn't aligning? And I do really support, I've seen a lot of benefits for hormone balance issues with people getting acupuncture and using Chinese herbs. So that's something to consider. Seed cycling is something that I haven't explored very much, but I've seen a number of our members get more regularity in their cycle with seed cycling, learning new things all the time. Another member who's currently 33 weeks, she was 40 and had gone through 2 rounds of IVF, and they did not work. They weren't getting a lot of eggs. They weren't good quality eggs. They didn't have anything to transfer. And they said, because of your age, because of your results from these retrievals, we really recommend donor eggs. We don't think you can get pregnant with your own eggs. She probably sat in the car and cried after that appointment, and then thought, let me try something different. That's when she found my program, came into it. And after probably 5 months, she was pregnant naturally. So just a few examples, many different pathways, right? There's not a way. Everybody's an individual. There's many pathways. And so oftentimes it flies in the face of what we might have been told about age and fertility. So I want to tell you about some of the programs that I offer. I really hope that this presentation has been helpful to you. Please do let me know as I'm going through my programs here, what has been helpful for you in the program? What are you going to take away from this that you can carry forward? So some of my programs, you can find a lot of my meditations and education free on YouTube. I love that people are just able to access this on their own time, listening to my meditations when they fall asleep. I just love that. When I want to go into more extended guidance, more extended trainings, these are paid programs. So I have my Improving Egg Quality workshop, and I have every 3 times a year now, I offer the 7-day fertility chill out retreat. I call it the TTC, trying to conceive chill out retreat for $39. That's actually happening next week, and the cart's open right now. You can find all the information about that through my website. And I pulled this one piece of feedback from a prior member that did the 7-day chill out retreat, because this program is so unique and it's really hard to explain how it works and why it works. But I've offered it. This is my 18th time offering it. I've seen it do magic so many times. And listen to this. I've understood that there was so much more to healthy fertility than just science and data. I was struggling with severe anxiety that was only exacerbated by struggles to conceive. I kept hearing stress has a negative effect on fertility and was like, okay, but what can I do? Help. This experience gave me the foundational tools specifically geared towards fertility and with tremendous empathy in mind. In only 7 days, I've made great progress and feel a peace I haven't experienced since embarking on this journey to making mine and my husband's I have a little, my slide controller is covering my view of the rest of this, and I can't quite see the rest of the quote. My and my husband's heart, what does it say? Somebody type it for me. Heart something true, Jenny. Okay, I can't read those last few words. It's February 13th, Valentine's is coming up tomorrow, and it just warms my heart to know how we can shift our energy around this process. And I'll tell you, I think partners like when their partners go through this program, because I collect data, they'll self-report on how people feel before and after. One of the items is I can enjoy intimate time with my partner. This is for those who are partnered. I can enjoy intimate time with my partner. Every time I run this, that measure goes up. People are having better sex, better time in bed, because they're shifting their energy, their outlook. And I hear so many stories of people getting pregnant. Okay, thank you, Shara. Helping my and my husband's heart wish come true. Perfect. The day before Valentine's Day. This is your heart wish. And that's why my programs are fertility from the soul. It's not fertility from the eggs and sperm. It's fertility from the soul, because there's a whole being, there's a whole energy of who you are in your relationships, who you are in your heart. And that's something that's really magical about this 7-day program, is it really helps you connect with all of those parts, bringing your whole person into alignment. Now, for those who want to go further with my programs, they do the 7-day program. They're like, whoa, mind blowing. I want more of this in my life. I have my Done With You fertility coaching program. It's a group program with lots of, individual support woven into the program through our private community forum, through live office hours. I do monthly master classes. We just did one this weekend on releasing tension from the jaw. And one of my members said, oh, her practitioner told her that jaw tension relates to fertility and the uterus. I was like, okay, wonderful. Like I said, everything's connected together. Anyway, we go through an extensive training for your mind-body resilience. We have the egg nurturing program, the fertility assessment, cycle charting. This is my everything bagel of everything that I've created. My members have access to everything, including an audio app where they can easily access all the meditations away from social media. They can access it offline if they're concerned about Wi-Fi. So this is my everything course. Pricing is on there. I am dedicated to keeping the pricing in a range that I feel is super reasonable for the amount of benefit, growth, and support you can get. It's just really, I don't want to see you going broke spending money on your fertility programs. I want you to have money to spend on a massage, on acupuncture, on good food, maybe some supplements. I do my best to create a system where we can bring people together to support each other, and I can support you in a way that is reasonable. So after the first 4 months in the program, I do ask for that longer commitment. It's $4.99 for the first 4 months. It's only $25 a month after that, because I want to just make it a no-brainer. And the vast majority of our members stay on long-term, even past fertility, because I support you through pregnancy. Because let me tell you, that first trimester, woo, talk about stress. If you've been trying for a while, if you've had losses first trimester, is really dicey emotionally. So I don't want people to just go away after they get pregnant. We want to continue nourishing your whole person and go through all the way to the end. I have a number of members who continued into parenthood and continue to support one another that way. So if you are interested in the deeper coaching program, you have to join the Chill Out Retreat, because that is your foundation for everything that we do. And if you're here with me now this week, this is the time you can sign up. I offer this 3 times a year. If you've already done the retreat and you know, and I'm not offering it right now, you don't want to do it again, just reach out to me and I'll figure out the best time for you to come into the program. If you don't want to do the retreat, you're like, oh, what is this thing? I don't want to do it. I just want to do my egg nurturing. You have to understand that there's a system to how I've set it up. And if you try to dive into all the other action steps without getting the foundation of the mindset piece, it really doesn't work as well. So, and we don't connect as a community when we don't have the common language and the emotional resilience. I really need people to have that foundation. So that is why I want everyone to go through the 7-day program and also figure out if you like my style before you invest more in a bigger program. Yeah, so if you are coming to this recording and we're between the cohort onboardings, we do the challenge, 7-day challenge. I'm calling it a retreat now. We call it the 7-day, we do the 7-day retreat, and then I open enrollment to Conceive with Ease, which has all the things in it. If you're coming to this recording right now in between times, you can reach out to me and see where we are, and I'll see if I can find a way to line you up. It really works best when you come in with a cohort, though, because the bonding and the orientation work better that way. Okay, I may at some point offer some of these things as DIY, some components that I know people really want and they don't want to make the bigger investment. I may offer the integrative assessment workshop series and the 90-day egg nurturing program as a self-guided course if people have interest in that. So let me know. You know, I realize that not everybody wants to be in an interactive group program. I do think that's the best way to get the most out of your process most efficiently, but I'm entertaining ways to break things down to fit different situations. So in closing, I want you to leave you with the message that you are wise. Listen to your intuition. You have so much inside of you that you can draw from, that you can tap in, that can help you feel confidence that you can listen inward. Yes, go get consultations, learn things, listen outward, but then put that through your own wise filter and trust your intuition. Okay. Thank you for being with me here. I always go over time. That was supposed to be 90 minutes. We're on to 2 hours now. Let me know your takeaways, your questions, your feedback. Whew, I'm going to look at the chat. It's really hard for me to do a presentation and read the chat at the same time. I don't know how other people do that, but I'm still learning. Okay, so, and if you've done any of my programs, let us know in the chat how it's been for you. Over 1,000 women have been through my Chill Out Retreat program. We have a lot of repeat attenders. It's not just about, oh, these are meditations and you want to be able to have the meditations and take them with you. It's really an event. Even though we're all around the world and we're doing this remotely and they're not even live. We don't do the meditations live because we're all in different time zones. And 7 in the morning for me is 3 a.m. for someone else and midnight for someone else. So everything is there for you to access at the right time in your day, but we connect in the comments below each practice, and it really is quite a magical community that forms. If you've done this program before, let me know, and you're welcome to, you know, lots of repeaters, some who had their baby a couple years ago and come back to do it again. It's like super exciting. It feels like a family in that sense. Okay, there's a question here. How long will this recording be available? I'm going to let this recording live on YouTube for a while until I feel like it's outdated and maybe I want to do another version of it. but it will stay here as a resource that you can come back to. So it'll probably be up for a few months or years. I don't know. But my intention is to leave it here for you so that lots of people can find it, so that you can share it with others who you think would benefit from this crash course. I really wanted to create a free resource that covers the things that come to my mind that I see all the time when I see people in forums saying, I have diminished ovarian reserve and I can't get pregnant. And like, there's these myths that I want to bust for our whole community here. And so I wanted to make this just free and available so that people can be more knowledgeable, more savvy, more empowered. So yes, please send your friends here when the replay is available so that we can change some of the essence of what is being taught and passed around that may not be serving people well in our industry. Okay, Irene, I enrolled in the 70 Chill Out retreat to work a bit on the stress. Wonderful. I had, as of this morning, there were already 20 enrolled. I'm expecting maybe 100, 150. It's hard to know. But it'll be a good sized group to have a really nice energy flowing. People are already in there commenting and sharing their stories, really positive energy there. So welcome, Irene. I look forward to having you in the retreat next week. Jessica says, look at that. I can pop these comments up. I have done the retreat and I can say it's worth it. I've seen a lot and have done a lot. I highly recommend it. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that, Jessica. Thank you for sharing. I'm going backwards through these comments. Yes, amazing. Something was amazing. Maybe that was a retreat. Okay. Okay, somebody was sharing something difficult. Catalin, do you have your people in your community who got pregnant after breast cancer? I'm turning 47, had breast cancer age 37, had chemo, 3 years of medicines and 19 surgeries. My goodness, you are a survivor. Congratulations on all that you've survived and recovered from. Last spring, I got pregnant but had a miscarriage at 9 weeks. I still have hope and miracles. So, when I hear of somebody getting pregnant and having a miscarriage, that always gives me a sense that your things are there's a fertile alignment going on. So that is super hopeful when you've had a pregnancy like that and a miscarriage at 9 weeks. I'm so sorry for your loss. Often it's egg quality. We can look into other things as well. I don't have to directly answer your question. I don't think I've had someone specifically sharing about going through cancer treatment and then getting pregnant. Nobody's coming to mind. I really think that, though, the fact that you got pregnant and had a miscarriage would encourage me to focus a lot on nourishment and egg quality. So good luck to you. I'm looking back through it. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'll hang out for a couple more minutes. I will go back to the chat stream to see if there are questions that I missed and maybe post a video later answering questions that I missed. Okay. Okay, somebody is Iona, AMH 0.7, normal FSH, 5 IVFs, and diminished ovarian reserve, age 47. Yeah. So if you're having cycles, even if your AMH is low, if you're having cycles and you're ovulating, I think there's really always a chance. Even those who are not having regular cycles, occasionally another egg comes through. So we don't know for sure, right? And the thing that I really like to impress upon everyone is that everything that I am teaching for your fertility, aside from the cycle charting parts, identifying your fertile window, everything else will serve your health and longevity going forward, no matter where this path goes. So what you invest in bringing about your best fertile alignment is also an investment in your next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I say this with great confidence because I've been doing extra research into health and longevity as I've been kind of case managing for my mother, who is 80 years old. She has type 2 diabetes and early-ish, not so early, dementia and high blood pressure. She has a number of age-related issues going on. And everything that I'm reading about preventing dementia, caring for dementia, preventing it from getting worse, is all the same things that we're talking about for optimizing your fertility. It's the exercise, it's the sleep, it's the decreasing stress, it's the maintaining your blood sugar, getting proper nutrition. These are the same things that are recommended for preventing dementia. So, in addition, all the literature that I read says the best time to do those things is in your 40s and 50s. That's when you can have an impact on maybe preventing the dementia from ever developing. Once you're 80 and your dementia is moving along, you're trying to hold things there. You don't recover much functioning with these things, but you try to keep it from downward sliding more. So when you're thinking about how you want to invest in your process of aligning your fertility, I encourage you to embrace it wholeheartedly, no matter what your age is, no matter what anybody says about your chances, because everything that you're doing for your health and wellness is going to pay off in dividends down the line when you're not focusing on reproduction, but you're focusing on staying healthy and vibrant throughout your lifespan. So you will not come out of this process of investing in your fertility and your wellness empty-handed, okay? If all you're focusing on is conceiving, we don't know, we can't promise where that's going to go. But if you're focusing on bringing optimal balance into your system for the benefits of your fertility, you have the benefit of boosting your fertility, and you have the benefits of everything that you're doing for your health and well-being for decades to come. So I want to leave you with that message. What you discover, what you do for yourself, the ways that you grow on this fertility journey are going to serve you for the rest of your life. If you would like to follow any of my programs further, please see all the resources in the links below, in the description below this video. And you can reach out to me by email as well if you have specific questions that you'd like to run by me. Thank you so much to all who have been here. We've been on for a marathon 2 hours. I have loved connecting with you. I hope that you felt supported and nourished. I hope that you feel empowered going forward. And I'm going to hold hope for all of your baby dreams and your visions for how you would like your future to blossom. Take care, everybody. Thank you for being here with me live.